Good evening. Welcome to Inside Out. I'm Pat Smith, and this is where we take you inside state and local government to bring that information out to you. Tonight we have with us George Leventhal, who's a at-large county council member, to help us understand more about our county government. George, welcome. Thanks for coming in.
Good to be with you, Pat.
Tell our viewers a little bit about what our structure of government here is here in Montgomery County. We hear a lot about the county council, hear something about the county executive. What is the relationship and what is the role of the county council?
The roles are defined in the county charter, and it's been revised a few times in this century. Right now, we have 9 members of the county council. 4 of us, including myself, are at large representing the entire county, and then the county is also divided into 5 districts, each of which is represented by 1 council member, so we have 9 council members. We are responsible for the budget, we are responsible for land use planning, and we pass local laws. The county executive is elected by the entire county, and he's responsible for appointing department heads and managing the administrative functions of county government and implementing the laws that are passed by the county council. The county executive also has veto power over those laws if he should choose to veto them.
How many councilors does it take to override a veto by the county executive?
If you have 7 votes, you can override the county executive's veto.
Pretty tough.
7 out of 9, right?
Yeah, pretty high standard to try to overrun the veto of the county executive, which gives him a pretty strong arm.
Yeah, we don't get a lot of vetoes. Generally, you know, there are issues on which the executive and council disagree. We're all Democrats. I think philosophically we're all relatively close. I think we all want a prosperous, healthy county with a high quality of life. We all want excellent schools. We all want safe neighborhoods. So, you know, we agree and disagree on a few things, but we haven't had a situation where he vetoes a lot of our bills or where we have, you know, too much conflict.
Well, we're in these tough economic times, and I know economic development is one of your main concerns, and the tax base is just eroding with the property values going down, so the assessments aren't there for the taxes, and people are not making as much money, so we're not getting the income tax revenue. Where are we on economic development?
Yeah, thanks, Pat. The indicators are going in the wrong direction. As you said, our revenue base is shrinking, but our social costs are rising. The indicators that cause me concern as chairman of the Health and Human Services Committee are indicators like infant mortality, which unfortunately is rising again after we had great success in bringing it down. Teen pregnancy, which is closely related to infant mortality. Crime. We have a number of social costs that are going to cause increasing concern unless we expand our revenue base and attract jobs and investment. And that's really got to be our focus in the years to come. I think for many, many years, Montgomery County took its healthy economy for granted. I think we assumed that because we're at the doorstep of the nation's capital, because we have such a beautiful landscape with beautiful parks and a preserved agricultural area, because we have such a highly skilled and educated workforce, that we would always be a magnet for investment, and that businesses would always want to locate here, and that investors would always want to purchase land and construct new buildings here. And I don't think we can afford to take that for granted any longer. For one thing, we're in stiff competition with other jurisdictions in the region. I commissioned a study from our Office of Legislative Oversight comparing basic economic indicators between Montgomery County and Fairfax County. If you want to know the value of a house, how do you find out? You compare it to comparable houses on the same street. And so if we want to know how Montgomery County is doing, I thought it was wise to compare ourselves with Fairfax County, which is right across the river, comparable population, comparable education level, comparable diversity, not identical, but very similar. What we find is that Fairfax has created vastly more jobs than we have. Fairfax has more jobs than housing. Montgomery has more housing than jobs. Fairfax has lower taxes than we have. Fairfax has a stronger tax base than we have. We don't envy Fairfax. We have special qualities that make us a highly desirable place to live. Fairfax is the richest county in the United States in median income. Montgomery County is the 8th richest county. And so we're doing very well. We've got a lot to be proud of. But it helped us assess, I think, where we stand in terms of job creation, in terms of attracting investment and growing the revenue base that's going to enable us to meet the challenges of a diverse, both demographically and economically diverse population.
What did you find that Fairfax was doing to attract and create more jobs over there?
Well,
Are they government jobs? Are they military installations? Defense Department contract type things? That's the impression that I get.
That's accurate in many ways. Certainly Fairfax has assets that we don't have. Fairfax County has Dulles Airport right on its border with Loudoun County, and of course the Pentagon is located in Arlington County, which is just outside of Fairfax County. And so it's certainly true that the defense industry is very strong in Northern Virginia. We have an opportunity to do very well with the life sciences industry, with NIH and FDA located here. But what we need to do is capitalize on those advantages. We need to make sure that we're concentrating on attracting life sciences companies that will want to partner with NIH and commercialize the basic and applied research that NIH is doing to turn it into products, drugs, and medical devices, create new companies, create new jobs, and create cures for disease and alleviate human suffering. It's extraordinary when you visit one of our great hospitals here in Montgomery County, Suburban Hospital, Holy Cross Hospital, Shady Grove Adventist Hospital, Montgomery General, Washington Adventist, and to see how far we've advanced in terms of biotechnology in being able to treat conditions that 10, 15, 20 years ago were fatal in all cases. And many of us have seen it in our own families. We've seen people we love who have contracted a serious disease that just a decade ago or 2 decades ago would have been a death sentence, that now have many, many years of good health because of advances in measuring disease, in treating disease. This is the kind of industry that we want to foster in Montgomery County. Everybody wins. We create high-paying jobs. We increase our tax base so that we can provide a high quality of life and excellent public services, and we're alleviating human suffering. This is the next frontier of Montgomery County's economic base. And so we need to encourage that, and we need to welcome that kind of investment. We need to have an economic development strategy that attracts high-tech, high-wage, future-based, science-oriented, education-grounded jobs. That's where our focus has to be. And again, for too long we've taken our success for granted. We've got to be more practical in terms of our relationship with outside investment than we have been in the past. What we're doing, I think, appropriately is focusing economic activity in those areas of the county where it's best suited and protecting those areas of the county, like our agricultural reserve, which is 1/3 of the county, where we don't want development to occur.
Right.
And so if we can focus the economic activity at transit hubs, at areas that are well served by public transportation, we can substantially increase the value of the land in those areas. And by increasing the value of the land, we'll increase our tax revenues, and then we can get back on track to having the best schools in the United States, the safest neighborhoods in the United States, hiring more police officers, having libraries open for more hours, improving the care of our parks, and caring for our needy population, because we have a growing population of people in need. 40% now of the children in our school system are on free and reduced meals. That's very substantial. So we've got dramatic needs that if the costs continue to rise, we aren't going to be able to meet, and the people who need help from government won't be able to get it. Again, this is my concern. Social costs rising, revenue base shrinking. We've got to turn that around.
And that's a good way to do it. And the life sciences industry is a great vision, and we see all of the growth at NIH. I mean, there are cranes down there all the time with more and more building. It's a city within itself. Across Wisconsin Avenue, you're going to have the consolidation of the Bethesda Naval Hospital and Walter Reed Hospital consolidating out there, which brings a lot more good health industry jobs into the area. And certainly that businesses that could grow from that. There certainly is available space already existing. I mean, it seems to me we have a lot of vacant office buildings and lab buildings along I-270.
That's correct.
That could be used. Are there any plans for tax incentives to make sure that companies that grow out of this life science research projects at NIH, incentives available to keep those companies and the jobs in the county?
Well, that's exactly right, Pat. We impose impact fees on new development to pay for the schools and transportation demands that the development will generate. But we've exempted the life science industry from those impact taxes.
Okay.
In addition, the state of Maryland has a biotechnology tax credit that is a credit against income tax for every new job created in the biotechnology industry. And here in Montgomery County, we've just adopted legislation that will add by 50% the amount of that tax credit. So we are precisely trying to attract that industry with a very favorable tax climate, but we're also trying to focus the industry in areas where you can live and work and shop and play all in the same location without an automobile. The County Council just unanimously passed the White Flint Plan, which over the next 20 to 30 years will create a very attractive urban environment along Rockville Pike in White Flint, which today is kind of an unattractive area filled with parking lots. And what we're doing is we are increasing the size and height of buildings, but at the same time, those residents who move into the residential units in those buildings will be able to get on Metro. White Flint Metro is right there. They'll be able to shop at White Flint Mall. They will have better access to transportation and a new street grid, so they won't be limited just to Rockville Pike. Several parallel streets will be constructed, so it'll be much easier to get around, and the hope and the expectation is that many people will choose to walk, just as they do now in downtown areas of major cities, leave their cars in the garage or not even need to own a car, because you're creating what everyone describes as a walkable, livable urban environment. At the same time, you're substantially increasing the value of the land at that metro station. I'd like to show you an example of the benefits that this kind of strategy has. The first slide shows two examples of land in Silver Spring located right near each other. The land is about the same size, just under an acre. Okay, so the first illustration is of a condominium building with 140 units in downtown Silver Spring on Wayne Avenue.
Built on 1 acre of land.
Built on just under an acre. The second example is just a few blocks away. It's one single-family home on the same amount of land. Now, if you look at the 140-unit condominium building, its assessed value is $32 million. If you look at the single-family home, its assessed value is $810,000. If you look at the amount of property tax that county government gets on the 140-unit condominium, it's $350,000 a year. The amount of property tax that we get from the single-family home is $8,743 a year. The amount of income tax that is brought in from the residents of that condominium, $287,000. Income tax brought in from the family in the single-family home, $2,100. So you see that if we're not talking about building tall buildings in every part of Montgomery County, we are going to protect the mix of neighborhoods. We will have single-family suburban neighborhoods. We will have large lot neighborhoods in the more rural parts of the county. But in those urbanizing areas, which are at transit hubs, like White Flint, like Bethesda, like Silver Spring, we need to look at the eastern part of the county, Glenmont, Wheaton. And then we're going to build new transit opportunities, the Corridor City Transitway, which is going to serve Clarksburg and Germantown, and the Life Sciences Center, where Johns Hopkins is already located, and the University of Maryland at Shady Grove. In those areas, we can substantially increase the value of the land by allowing people to live and work right in proximity to each other. That's going to reduce automobile trips. That's going to make it more attractive for people not to use a car. They'll be able to get from where they live to where they work, and the county will get more revenue and higher quality jobs will be created. And these are the frontiers of opportunity for the next generation. You were telling me about your daughter. A lot of us are concerned about when our children enter the workforce, will they be able to find a job? Will they be able to find a place to live?
Will they be able to afford to stay here in Montgomery County?
Well,
time for us to take a break, George. It's very interesting. We'll be right back. I'm Pat Smith. You're watching Inside Out. With me tonight is George Leventhal. He's an at-large member of the County Council here in Montgomery County. We'll be right back.
I'm starving. What's for breakfast?
Guten Tag!
Johannes, Franz!
I bring you arts-enriched Raisinblums, fortified with increased test scores and creative problem-solving skills.
It's good!
And good for you.
Bobby? Susie?
Don't worry, that's just the power of the arts!
Feed your kids the arts. For 10 simple ways to learn how, visit AmericansForTheArts.org.
Welcome back. I'm Pat Smith. You're watching Inside Out. This is where we take you inside state and local government to bring that information out to you. We have George Leventhal with us tonight. He's an at-large member of our county council. George, just before we took the break, we were talking about the White Flint model of development. And that is an area right now where you can't walk across the street.
Exactly.
But at the same time, there's something on every square foot of the area. You know, it's either a parking lot or some shop or whatever. What is the involvement of the county council in that development? Is that the council or the county government going to be the developer, or you're going to contract with that? How is that going to work?
Well, our role is to identify the vision. Our role is to pass the master plan. And that plan creates the zoning. Zoning is a mechanism by which government says, here's what you may build and here's how large you may build it. Zoning initially was created basically to keep things that were perceived as undesirable, like heavy smokestack industry, out of quiet, nice residential neighborhoods. Well, unfortunately now what we find is that our zoning regime has created a lot of the traffic problems that drive us crazy, because our residences are located far away from our work site and far away from the and so what we're doing now is creating new mixed use where people can live and work and shop all in the same area, ideally so that they can walk from one place to another without needing an automobile. And that's what we've created. That's what our vision calls for in White Flint. You're not going to see it tomorrow. It's a 20 to 30 year vision. But ultimately, when it's created, White Flint is going to become a more urban, but also a more attractive and exciting environment. Here in Montgomery County, we've seen the results in downtown Silver Spring. You can leave your car in one place in downtown Silver Spring, go for a walk. If you work there, you can walk to lunch. You have many, many different options of places to eat, places to shop. We brought Discovery, of course, and many other offices have located there. They're keeping the restaurants healthy. The shopping is vibrant. You've got a farmer's market on the weekend. You've got live music. You've got all of these things that make it an exciting destination. So young people want to go there. Silver Spring is an exciting place to be. That's a change. We've just seen it in the last decade or so. And that's the vision. Not precisely like Silver Spring, each place is different, but that's the town center vision that many communities are now trying to replicate. And so in White Flint, which right now you really have to have a car to get anywhere, people will want to live there and shop there and go out to a restaurant and earn a living all in the same place without needing an automobile.
So as we have Silver Spring, we have Bethesda, then we'll have the vision of South Rockville, North Bethesda, in the White Flint area, developing in a very user-friendly way.
White Flint's going to become a place that people want to be. Let's go to White Flint for dinner. That doesn't happen now.
Right. One of the concerns that people have, though, is that it is so expensive to live in Montgomery County that young folks getting started in trying to begin a family, they just can't do it on one salary. And in many instances, they just can't afford to stay or find affordable housing in Montgomery County to live and work here.
Right.
Is it going to be a more affordable opportunity in a development such as White Flint, or is it going to become as high-end as Bethesda?
Well, the vision is that you have a mix of housing units, so that if a family desires the traditional vision of a single-family suburban neighborhood with a nice front yard and backyard, those homes exist in Montgomery County, and right now it's a great time to buy because the market is down. But if a younger person doesn't have children and is interested in a more urban setting and is willing to live and interested in living in a multifamily housing with services, a swimming pool, a gym, these kinds of things, those kinds of buildings will also be available in Montgomery County, and townhouses and large lot areas for those who can afford them. So we want a mix in Montgomery County. We still have, and we're going to continue to maintain, our moderately priced dwelling unit program, whereby for every new, all the new units that are constructed, 12.5% of them must be set aside at below market value. Montgomery County was one of the first in the United States to adopt that, and it remains in effect. But in addition to government controlling the price of a percentage of units to keep them affordable, which we have in place, when you have a place like White Flint, when you have the new construction now coming online in Silver Spring, it's an extraordinary amount of housing units being built down near the District of Columbia. The availability of more units also, higher the supply, the lower the price. So,
well, on the 12.5% of new development that in housing that you mentioned, it is reserved, that has to be priced below market. how do viewers that are listening here, that are watching us tonight, how do they find out about that?
Right.
How do first-time home buyers, where do they go, who do they call, who do they talk to get some direction and some assistance?
They contact our Department of Housing and Community Affairs, and if they have access to the internet, you go to montgomerycountymd.gov and go to departments and go to Department of Housing and Community Affairs. Very soon, the county will be bringing online a very simple telephone information line, 311. And anyone who wants any information from county government, from affordable housing to information about libraries to schools, whatever the issue is, this will be happening later this year. We'll just be able to call 311, and a trained operator will be able to guide them to services such as, how does the moderately priced dwelling unit work? How do I get on a list to be able to purchase a house or any other service from county government? But for now, montgomerycountymd.gov is the county's website, and it has all the information you could want about how to apply for or how to benefit from any service in county government.
Let us touch on one thing. We're talking about economic development, but one thing the county's looking at right now is reduction in force, a RIF situation because of the budget. And I understand that probably 500-600 jobs, half of which are probably not filled at the present time, but are going to be eliminated.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, we needed, if current spending had stayed on track with all of the expectations built in, we would be about $800 million short of the revenue that we need. And so County Executive Leggett sent us a budget 2 weeks ago that reduced that spending by just under $800 million, and we're getting bad news all the time. The legislative session in Annapolis is bringing us additional bad news. We're taking additional cuts in Health and Human Services and schools, and the revenue picture has not gotten any brighter. So during the month of April and the month of May, we're going to be working on putting the budget together. We review the county executive's budget at the county council, and it's very, very grim. Programs that mean a great deal to people are being eliminated or drastically scaled back in every area: libraries, healthcare, police and fire. You know, some of the most critical functions of county government are going to be very, very strapped for revenue, and a lot of people are going to be disappointed. It's not an easy time.
Some of the jobs that are being cut that I've heard of are really going to put people in a very difficult position. I know of one woman who's like a teacher's assistant and helps out in the library, the communications laboratories at a school. Self-supporting woman with a child in college, and her job is being eliminated. Where's she go? What's she do? And how necessary is it to cut those low-end jobs?
Right. Well, 80% of our budget is personnel, and we, as I mentioned, are just under $800 million short of the revenue we would need to keep current spending on track. It isn't going to be possible to reduce the size of government and to live with the revenues that we've got without eliminating some positions, and it is very hard, and the council understands that for individuals who are caught in this situation, we want to make the transition as easy as we can, but people are going to lose their jobs. There's no question. Several hundred employees, both of county government and the school system, are going to be out of work, and we're very sensitive to the tough choices we're facing and the impact on people's lives.
People are always critical of our county government as being, they have the impression that it's a big spender. But certainly this budget that's been proposed and what the council's doing with it is very austere. Is that a fair assessment?
It's a fair assessment. This is an austere budget, and for those county employees whose work hours are being scaled back or whose jobs are being eliminated, we have great sympathy, because every county employee provides important service, and people move here because the quality of services, especially our schools, is so high. And we don't want the attraction that Montgomery County holds for people of having good government, good management, excellent services, excellent schools, safe neighborhoods. We don't want that to suffer.
Now, we see ourselves coming out of the Great Recession. There are positive signs nationally. First quarter of this year, We actually have growth on the Wall Street for the first quarter in many years. Where do you see it turning around here in the county so that our property values stop decreasing in value, which has happened in part because of all of the foreclosures and the lack of ability for people to buy and the glut on the market? But for that to turn around so that there's some growth coming out of the life sciences research and things like that we talked about in the first segment, where do you see it turning around?
Absolutely. Well, I do think that the issues we discussed in the first segment are connected to what's going to create our... We've got to send a message to the investors that Montgomery County is interested in attracting jobs and growing our revenue base. And we're beginning to do that. A couple of weeks ago, I was at the opening of Zingenia, which is a very innovative medicine development company that was funded through an innovative approach to venture capital. The county put in a substantial amount of money, about $1 million, and private venture capital put in vastly more. So a small county investment leveraged a larger, much larger amount, more than $100 million of private venture capital. The county does need to begin being very serious about participating in creating opportunities. That speaks to the planning that I discussed before. It also speaks to targeted investments that other local governments are competing with us. The new governor of Virginia got $35 million in an economic development fund to attract companies to Virginia. This doesn't mean we're going to give away the store. It does not. But it does mean that a small amount of county, a small amount of state dollars, if it can leverage a large amount of private investment and get businesses to take a look at Montgomery County, we will attract high-quality jobs, high-quality investment. If we send that signal that Montgomery County is an attractive and welcoming place for those businesses that are consistent with our values, as I mentioned, life sciences, environmental technologies, the frontier jobs of the future that we're trying to attract, then I believe our economy... We're seeing promising signs. As you said, the stock market is at about 11,000. The Dow Jones hasn't been there for quite a while, so things are looking better. That'll help us with capital gains revenue. Housing prices...
And it shows investors having more confidence in
it shows more investor
investing
confidence.
money into...
That's right. I'm always thinking about revenues to Montgomery County, but it speaks to the improving health of the economy. And as I say, Zingenia agreed to open here. The National Cancer Institute was deciding whether to locate its office and lab space in Frederick County or in Montgomery County. They chose Montgomery County. We're working on several other economic opportunities that will enhance our job base and enhance our revenue base. So there are hopeful signs on the horizon. Will next year be bad? Probably. It's still going to be bad. Income taxes are a lagging indicator. It takes a while for, once a new job starts, once a new company opens, it takes a while for the jobs to fill and the people start earning the revenue. So this year's budget, as you say, very austere. Next year's budget likely to be very austere. We're optimistic. We believe we have great resources here. We believe we have a lot to sell about Montgomery County. It's a great place to locate, and we're going to preserve the things that make Montgomery County special. I want to emphasize this because when we talk about targeted areas for focused economic activity, we will always preserve our agricultural land as far as I'm concerned. We will always preserve our C&O Canal, Rock Creek Park. We will always have the natural beauty that gives the diversity of the land in Montgomery County. We have farms, we have urban space, we have suburban neighborhoods, we have beautiful parks. We protected almost half our county from development. In the remaining space, we can create a stronger economy and attract jobs and investment and have a bright future.
Excellent, excellent. And thanks for your energy and your commitment to the job, George. It's been a pleasure having you on. The time's already up. It's Inside Out. I'm Pat Smith. George Leventhal has been our guest. He's an at-large member of the County Council. If it's Tuesday at 10, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday at 7:30 here on Channel 16, it's Inside Out.